software testers. Move beyond theory and master testing with the AI-powered ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q program. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q equips you with the theoretical skills and practical competence to truly excel. Learn how to apply black box testing like a pro. Estimate accurately, write flawless defect reports, and catch issues early. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q complements your ISTQB certification by turning knowledge into powerful action. Visit our websites and find out more information.
Hi, and welcome to the A4Q Testing Summit 2026. What a great lineup and a great agenda this year here at the Testing Summit. And today we are welcoming here Sheena Yap Chan. Hello, Sheena. Great that you are here.
Hi, Richie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. I read your biography and it's really amazing. You're a Wall Street Journal and Publisher Weekly best-selling author, a TEDx speaker, a keynote speaker, and you have a podcast with, I think, 800 plus recordings. It's so amazing. So it's great that you are here, and you will talk about elevating the voices and identity of the testers in the age of AI, a very, very interesting topic for nowadays where we have all to deal with the AI stuff. So before you go on stage, I have some things to mention here for the audience here. So please enjoy the full conference. Check the agenda. We have an amazing program out there, and you can vote for the best speaker and the best presentation also on the website. So, and if you have any questions during the chat, during the presentation, just put it into the chat and we will deal with that at the end of the presentation. And now, welcome on the stage. Have fun with Sheena.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great time at the A4Q Testing Summit. My name is Sheena Yap Chan, and today we'll be talking about visible quality, elevating the voice and identity of testers in the age of AI. AI is a new technology that's always ever evolving, and people don't realize, the ones that were seen as soft skills, such as confidence, leadership, resilience, is going to be much needed more now than ever. And, it'll go beyond that. It'll go from now until till the future. And so skills like these are needed now more than ever. They won't be the ones called soft skills. They'll be the skills that will lead us to have more innovation, more things that we could create, have more opportunities. And so let's get started. So the shift in testing, right? Testing is transforming fast as AI is ever evolving. A lot of things will be automated. We'll have AI-driven automation, data-centric systems, continuous delivery and DevOps, complex integrated ecosystems, quality embedded across the life cycle. But there's still one thing that's undeserved, which is the leadership of identity testers. And this is so important because your leadership is much needed, right? You'll probably be seen as just a tester and that's your role, but it goes beyond that. And when you have the leadership tied to it, there's so many opportunities that can open for you. So what is the core problem, right? Many testers are still seen as bug finders, automation implementers, gatekeepers at the end, support to engineering. So if you ever felt like that, you're not the only one, right? People might think you're just there to fix things when really it's more than that. Instead, you're strategic risk advisors, quality architects, trust builders across teams, influencers of product direction. Without your role, nothing happens, right? You're the one testing it out to make sure things work well, it doesn't work well. This technical role evolves, but the identity often doesn't. And so I want you to realize you are more than just your role. You have leadership qualities that can make things work in a way that everybody wins. And when you can see yourself beyond that, the sky's the limit. So here's from test implementer to strategic leader. As a test implementer, you execute scripts, report defects, follow requirements, and you're more reactive. Versus as a strategic quality leader, it shapes risk conversations, guides engineering decisions, aligns quality with business goals, and you're proactive and visible. And this is so important, right? What you do matters. Being visible matters, especially in leadership, especially in your career. If you want things to happen, if you want to move up, then it's important to be out there, to put yourself out there. The difference is not just skill alone. It's about your voice, identity, and influence. And the more you can practice being a leader, speaking up, being able to influence, being able to show up as yourself, that's how you can build your confidence, your resilience, your leadership, and it helps you stand out from everybody else. So being a test implementer is not just about, again, fixing bugs, testing things. It's all about helping with business goals, making sound decisions, helping that company or helping your firm move forward. So I wanted to share this framework that I've created. It's called the Visible Framework. It's a leadership roadmap for modern testers. So it's based on 7 pillars. And each pillar comes from the word visible. So each letter represents something. So V is for voice, I is for identity, S is for spotlight, I is inner work, B is belief, L is leverage, and E is elevation. And visible is about becoming seen, heard, and trusted in strategic spaces. And this is so important because a lot of people think, oh, I have to be everywhere. I have to be in front of everybody. That's what being visible is. But really, being visible is about being in front of the right spaces, the right decision makers, the right audience. So when you're more intentional about your visibility, that's how you can move forward. That's how you can move up to different opportunities. That's how you can get promoted or move up in leadership positions. And so let's get started. I'll go a little bit deeper for each pillar. So V is for voice. Your voice is how you communicate value. This is so important because I talk to a lot of people who are afraid to share their opinions, share their ideas in meetings, right? They're afraid that their ideas might not be accepted properly or it'll get rejected. And, they tell me every time this happens, the person beside them has said the same exact idea and was praised for it. And I share this because I want you to practice speaking up, sharing your voice, being able to raise your hand up. So ask yourself, do I speak in test activities or risk impact? Do I translate defects into business language? Am I present in architecture and strategy conversations? This is important, right? Because if you're not in these spaces or in these conversations, then nothing happens. And I know sometimes it's scary to speak up, but you got to do it step by step. And if speaking up is something that you're afraid still to do, then find different ways. Maybe have a suggestion box or write an email or just talk to that person one-on-one to share it. But either way, it's those small, actionable daily steps that yield that big results. And you have to start somewhere, because if you don't share your voice, if you don't share your ideas, if you don't share, the things that you can contribute, then no one will see what you're doing, right? And so this is important to speak up, to share your voice. So the shift is from there are 14 failing tests. This is just an example to there's a regression risk affecting customer checkout flows. So this is, sometimes it's just languaging, how it affects the client, how it affects the company. When they see it that way, it helps them see, oh, okay, we need to fix this. Oh, we need to figure things out. So voice is also reframing your role, right? Again, you're not just a bug tester. You're also aligning with business goals, helping clients, making the company better. Without your contribution, it falls apart. And so it's all about reframing that, seeing things from a different perspective, and also speaking in a language that people can understand as well. I is identity. And this is so important, right? Who do you define yourself? Who are you, right? Do you see yourself as a tester, as an automation engineer, as a quality advocate, as a risk strategist? If you see yourself as a script executor, others will too. So how you define yourself matters, right? If you just see yourself as someone who fixes bugs, that's all they see. But your role is more than that, right? You do so much more. And when you can identify it as that, it'll help you out. And, identity is important because a lot of us feel like, we're tied to also our roles in our workplace, but it goes beyond that, right? It's also about the values, the experiences, the culture that you're in, that all contributes to it as well. And the more you can show up as who you are, it'll be a lot easier as well. So um, a modern identity also includes AI-aware test strategist, quality systems thinker, cross-functional collaborator, data-driven decisions partner. So identity drives behavior, behavior shapes perception. So it's really, when you take your role seriously, it helps you and see yourself as someone in leadership, identifies as someone in leadership, others will see it as well. So S is for spotlight. This is so important, and I wanted to share this because if no one sees your impact, it doesn't scale, right? I see a lot of people put in the work and never share what they've been able to accomplish. And no one can see what you haven't done, right? Like, yes, you're working, you're putting in the work, but if you don't talk about it, nothing happens. For so long, I've always been taught that if you work hard, the results will speak for itself. That's not true. The results will not speak for itself. So it's really important to share what you've been able to accomplish, because my biggest fear has always been that if you don't share your work, someone else is going to take credit for your work. And I don't want that to happen to you, because you put in the frustrations, you put in the effort. So you need to be proud of what you've done and share it out, share it to the right decision makers. And so here's some common visibility gaps. Work happens behind the scenes. Metrics are technical, not strategic. Wins go to delivery, not quality. And so here's some practical spotlight strategies that you can do. Share risk summaries and leadership updates, present quality insight, not just result, publish automation, impact metrics in business terms. A lot of people think visibility is ego. It's not about ego, it's influence. And the more you can practice sharing what you've been able to accomplish, sharing the things that you were able to produce to make things better, it'll help you in the long run. So I know sometimes it can be very scary and it can be very uncomfortable. But again, nothing happens if nothing happens. If you keep on working hard and you're not sharing it, you're just seen as a hard worker, right? You have to also work smart. You also have to put yourself out there and be visible to the right decision makers, to the right audience, to the right situations. Again, visibility is not about being everywhere. It's just being intentional and being able to share it to the right decision makers to help you be seen as a leader, to help you in those to move up to the next positions. So I is inner work. This is so important because leadership starts internally, right? It's all about working on your mindset, working on who you are. Everything's from the inside out. And when it comes to leadership, confidence, visibility, 80% of this work is from your mindset, is from the inner work. So this is really important. And so here's some questions you can reflect on, right? Do I wait for permission to speak? Is that something you've done before? Do I avoid conflict and risk discussions? Do I undervalue my expertise? We've all been there, right? We feel like, we don't have the permission to share our ideas, or we constantly undervalue ourselves, which really is unfortunate because you are more than capable. You have more talent than expertise that you realize. And I think a lot of people have this misconception of being an expert. As an expert, you think you have to know every single thing about what you do, when really being an expert is just knowing a little bit more than everybody else, just a little bit more than everybody else. So when you can see things from a different perspective or reframe things, and make things a lot easier. You are an expert. You do have expertise because you know just a little bit more than everybody else. And here's some inner blockers that can also include things like imposter syndrome, right? We've all been there. We all think that we're not good enough, or we feel like a fake, or there's someone better out there. I've gone through it as well. I've had my fair share of imposter syndrome, feeling not good enough, feeling I was too old, feeling that there was someone better out there. And I had to learn to reframe imposter syndrome, right? For me, imposter syndrome is a sign that you're moving up, you're moving to the next level. Because when you're a leader and you're moving up, it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to be, go have like stuttering words, sweaty palms, funny stomach, all these things, right? All these things that are uncomfortable, that's normal because you're stepping into new territory and this is all new for you. So again, when you're going through imposter syndrome or you're going through self-doubt, just remember this is the sign that you're moving to the next level. And all these things are going to feel that way because we're human. We're going to feel it. It's not, it's normal. So I want you to realize that. Another one is testing is secondary mindset. And then fear of challenging developers. Sometimes we think, if we challenge them, we're overstepping. We're not overstepping. Of course, we want things to work properly. We want things to make sure that we create situations that everybody wins. So it's not about challenging. It's making sure that your job is done and that we all win together, right? So confidence grows through clarity and preparation. Another thing that I didn't share here is also the importance of working through trauma. That's also part of the inner work. Sometimes we can't show up as our best self or as the best leader that we're meant to be if we don't work out our traumas, or if we're not even aware we have trauma in our life, right? And trauma can come up in many different ways. And I know this is a little bit deeper, but I think this is important because I get a lot of people who ask me, well, how do you build confidence? How do you build confidence? And I always ask them, what is really stopping you? What's the root cause from stopping you from moving forward? And so trauma plays a huge role in that. And again, it can look different for everyone. So like, maybe something from your childhood, or maybe something from, maybe you're going through PTSD, or maybe, you don't even realize you're carrying not only your own traumas, but the traumas of your parents, grandparents, and so on. Intergenerational trauma is about 4 generations deep. So think about that, right? All these things are factors that stops us from moving forwards. That's also part of a huge inner blocker, right? And when you can learn to find ways to do that, whether it's seeking a mental health therapist, or seeking, talking to someone, or, reading books, things like that, it will help you. So you have to understand also your brain is like a computer hardware. If you feed it good things, it's going to work properly, right? But if your computer hardware has a virus, what happens? There's pop-ups everywhere. There's files that are lost. Your computer is not working well, and you have to treat your brain the same way. You have to feed it good things so that you have the mindset to keep moving forward. And it doesn't mean you always have to be 110% positive, because that's also unattainable. We're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have a lot of setbacks and challenges, but now we have the mindset to keep moving forward during those challenging times. So make sure you find ways to work on yourself, whether it's reading books, listening to podcasts, attending events like this, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. All of this is part of the inner work. B is for belief, right? Belief is so important, because without that belief, you're not going to go out there and even take the first step. So the question is, what do you believe about testing? If testing is support, your influence shrinks. But if testing is a risk intelligence function, a system quality strategy, a trust mechanism for customers, then your role expands, right? It's really about how you position yourself. Because if you're just like, I'm a tester, then that's all you see yourself as. But if you can pre-frame it in a way that it helps your role seen as something bigger, which it is, then people will also gravitate to that. So your team rises to the level of belief held by their leaders. So think about some of the things you've done that really brings that value, because you do have it. L is leverage, right? Modern testers operate in ecosystems. A lot of us feel like we have to do all the work ourselves, which is far from the truth, right? You're in this conference because you want to leverage what you can do. Maybe it's meeting someone here, getting to learn different systems, getting to learn different groups, learn different tools, because if you're doing everything yourself, you're going to burn out, right? And this is why leverage is so important. And what does leverage mean? Here's some ways for testers as well. So partnering with DevOps on quality pipelines, collaborating with data teams for AI validation, working with product owners on acceptance clarity, supporting engineering with observability insights. So instead of owning all quality tasks, amplify quality through others, right? Make sure you don't have to do everything. You focus on the things that you're good at, and then you can leverage the other tasks. So influence multiplies when the trust is shared, right? Trust is so important in this, and this is how we can all work together, leverage. And so when you're here during the summit, make sure to connect with someone, make sure to talk to them, see what they do. Maybe you can collaborate on different things, or even just have a support system, right? Because again, you don't have to do everything on your own. You're also here for a reason in this conference, because you want to learn something new. You want to learn, how can I become better in my field? So again, be okay to leverage tools, be okay to leverage your network. And then last but not least, E is elevation. Elevation happens when your voice influences architecture, your identity aligns with strategy, your visibility builds executive trust, your leverage scales across teams, right? When you're moving up, it's lonely at the top. It's important to bring others with you. That's how we can create more leaders in this field, right? So you can move from, can you test this, to what risks do we need to consider before we build this? That is elevation, right? It's bringing others with us as we keep moving forward, as we keep taking things to the next level. So this is a visible framework. If there was a pillar that resonated with you, or you think that you need work on, just think, take 2 minutes of your time after that and think, what is the one pillar that I want to work on so I can be better? Maybe it's spotlight, maybe it's elevation, or maybe it's even just voice, right? Figure out, how can I make that better? So here's a case study in AI-driven test automation. The scenario is, a team implements AI-based automation but treats it as a tooling upgrade. So while using the visible framework, you can use 4 pillars from it. Voice, frame AI as risk prediction, not script generation. Identity, position as AI-aware quality strategist. Spotlight, share defect prevention metrics. And leverage, partner with data scientists. And what will the outcome be? Quality moves from reactive detection to predictive insights. So everything's really about pre-framing, positioning, and utilizing this framework to help you become better, to help you be seen as that leader in this field. Case study 2 is DevOps visibility gap. The scenario, you're testing integrated into CI/CD, but testers are excluded from planning. So here's the shift when utilizing the visible framework. Speak in deployment risk language, publish release confidence dashboards, join architecture reviews early, align test coverage with business OKRs. And the results would be, testers become part of the release decision authority. So to start things early, join things early, be part of the early decision making, right? The more you can get into those, the more you can understand the processes and be part of it and share what you've been able to accomplish. And then here's something you can ask yourself. Is my role clearly defined beyond execution? Do stakeholders understand my strategic value? Am I present in decision-making rooms? Does leadership connect quality to business impact? If you've never asked these questions before, that's totally okay. I know this is something you've probably never even thought of, right? But it is important to start asking these questions. Like, if you want, you can write this down or take a screenshot so you can, like, really think about it, reflect on it and write it down and find ways. If you're not in the decision-making rooms, how can you start doing it, right? If the stakeholders doesn't understand the value you bring into the table, start finding ways to do that. And the gaps often appear as undefined role voice, undervalued testing identity, limited stakeholder presence. So awareness is the first step. And this is why I have given you these questions, because maybe you've never even thought of these things before. You've always just thought, well, I'm just a tester. I just make sure everything works well. But really, your role is a lot bigger than that, right? You're helping with business goals, business decisions, and, working with stakeholders so that everybody wins, right? And clients. So again, make sure you have these questions. Again, you can screenshot it. I think you may get a copy of this presentation as well. So here's 2 practical strategies you can implement immediately. Strategy 1 would be reframing your reporting. Everything is really about reframing and seeing things from a different perspectives. So when you can see things from a different perspective or reframe it, it makes things a lot better. That's how I've done things. I reframe a lot. Like before, when unfortunate incidents happen to me, I would always think, oh, why does this happen to me? What's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Like, everything bad always happens to me. And now I've learned to reframe it. I tell myself, this had to happen because it's either a lesson or a blessing. And when I can see things that way, I don't feel bad about myself. I just keep moving forward. So here's some things you can do. Instead of test counts, report risk exposure, customer impact, business alignment, confidence level for release. Make quality visible in business terms. And then the next strategy is create one strategic touch point. So within 30 days, here's one of the things you can do. Join one architecture review, present one quality insight to leadership, facilitate one cross-functional risk discussion. So, sorry about that. So small strategic visibility moments make a huge difference in here. So Sorry about that. For some reason, it's been having a little bit technical difficulty. So here's two things that you could do. Again, reframe your reporting and create one strategic touch point. So applying the framework. So to apply the visible framework, here's 4 things you can do. Assess your current voice and identity. Identify one visibility gap. Choose 2 elevation actions. Track influence, not just defects. Leadership is not a title. It's repeated, intentional visibility. So again, intentional visibility, not being everywhere, everything all at once, being at the right spaces, the right decision makers. And so here's some final thoughts. In the age of AI, tools are accelerating, pipelines are automating, systems are scaling. The question is, are testers scaling their leadership identity too? So is this something that you're scaling as well? And this is a question that, you might answer later on, because again, your role is not just technical, it's also about leadership, confidence, resilience. You have qualities to be the greatest leaders, but maybe sometimes you're not aware of it. So visible quality is not about doing more testing. It's about becoming visible as a strategic force in modern delivery. So again, as AI is rising, this is probably the most important work that you will be doing, building your resilience, building your confidence, building visibility, intentional visibility, and being the leader that you're meant to be. So that's the end of today's presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to connect with me, this is my barcode that will take you to all my social media links, my websites, my books, and so you can connect with me there. And so I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. I hope it's kind of help you think things from a different perspective, learn to reframe and see yourself as a leader that you were meant to be. I hope the visible framework has also helped you just figure out what you're going to work on, because even me as well, I use that myself. Like, I'm still working on my belief. There's still things that I still doubt, unfortunately, because I'm human, I'm not a robot. And so I work on it as well. So you're not the only one. And so again, feel free to connect with me here. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this event and also attending my talk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sheena, for this presentation. It's a very good perspective on testing, see it on a different way, on a leadership way, on a people way. I've checked the questions while you're talking, and I want to give you 2 of these questions. You mentioned on one point the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Can you shortly explain what the imposter syndrome is in our daily life, and how can we overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome is about, like that feeling that we're not good enough. We go through self-doubt. We think there's someone better out there. And so we tend to undervalue our skills or talents. And so when we tend to undervalue it, we don't move forward as much. And so we have to learn to move forward despite of those doubts, right? This is why pre-framing it is important. Being able to say, like, yes, you're going through these feelings because you're moving to the next level. So in leadership, when you're moving into uncharted territory, it's going to feel scary. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to go through probably anxiety and, things like that. So we have to see this as a sign that we are ready to move into that leadership role. We all go through it. Even some of the most influential people in the world also have gone through imposter syndrome, feeling that they're not good enough, there's someone better out there, or they're too old or too young, or they feel like a fake. They feel like that they have to constantly keep doing something to feel valued, when in reality, you're more than enough. You've contributed way more than you realize.
I think that is really true for a lot of people, and us and me too. Yeah, thank you so much. At the end, you mentioned also leadership, and there was a question: do you have a tip how to train leadership on a daily basis in my daily work?
Yeah, I mean, the most important is just taking one small action step every single day, right? Utilizing like the visible framework. If it's voice, and if you're afraid to talk at first, like to speak up at meetings, maybe just write an anonymous note or send us an email to your superior, or maybe talk to a colleague about it, right? But start taking those small little steps to move up so that you can be better. Or spotlight, maybe you're still really worried about sharing what you've been able to accomplish to like stakeholders. Maybe start with somebody who is, less risky, right? Maybe like your colleague, and then maybe your superior, and then so on, right? Start building, what I call low risk confidence. Like start building that confidence in situations where you don't feel as threatened yet, right? Like, so let's say you applied for a position, and then you got the interview. And of course, interviews are like the scariest things, right? So how do you practice low confidence risk? You practice with your wife or your partner or your sister or best friends. Like, hey, can I just practice interviewing with you? Just ask me these questions and I'll answer them. So even if you screw up, I mean, it's not in front of like the interviewer, you're in front of like someone close to you, right? And it helps you get rid of like all that like nervousness and the mistakes, because when you practice, it helps you become better so that on the day of that interview, you feel a lot better, you feel more ready.
Great tip. Thank you very much, Sheena. It's a really good tip for daily work, I think. Thank you that you were part here of the A4Q Testing Summit 2026. And to you, the audience, don't forget to watch the other talks too, and to vote for the best speaker and the best presentation on the website, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye-bye.
Software testers. Move beyond theory and master testing with the AI-powered ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q program. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q equips you with the theoretical skills and practical competence to truly excel. Learn how to apply black box testing like a pro. Estimate accurately, write flawless defect reports, and catch issues early. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q complements your ISTQB certification by turning knowledge into powerful action. Visit our website and find out more information.